are to avoid logical paradoxes when traveling at high speeds, then there are certain rules which must be obeyed. Einstein called these rules the special theory of relativity. Light from a moving object travels at the same speed no matter whether the object is at rest or in motion. Thou shalt not add my speed to the speed of light. Also, no material object can travel at or beyond the speed of light. There's nothing in physics that prevents you from traveling as close to the speed of light as you like. 99.9% the speed of light is just fine. But no matter how hard you try, you can never gain that last decimal point. For the world to be logically consistent, there must be a cosmic speed limit.
This is where it all began, or where our Bay Area stay began and all our technological pursuits, I guess. This was the original WebTV building, and original for WebTV and original to us because we didn't start right when WebTV started.
I think Bryan did a lot of work that was based on some other FTL research that was being done at that time, but he took it, of course, to a completely different level. They were kind of groping in the dark, and it was, in effect, to make a crude analogy, Bryan turned on the light switch.
I think I know when it started. I think it was when he started first putting the network connections together, network accesses for MCI, the outsourcer, and that he was working all the time, late hours, into the night. You'd see email from him like at 4 and 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. He'd be up working, putting together those network connections. And then, right at the same time, the movie came out. I don't know if you remember it, but it was a movie with Will Smith in it, and it was called Enemy of the State. Well, anyways, where they readjust a bunch of satellites like real time, and everything was really fast. And Bryan goes, he was. I remember him saying to me that he knew the movie was bogus because nobody could rearrange things and set up network connections and repoint satellites that fast. And then that's when he really started getting into speed, the need for speed.
No, he kept that a secret. No one knew anything about that.
He wouldn't tell me really exactly what it was about, but he said that all computers were useless to him. He needed a new computer, and we needed to throw out everything we knew about computers and start over. And it sounded like a pretty ambitious research project, so I thought it'd be fun to get involved in it.
Apparently, it all started with a coffee maker that was in the kitchen at WebTV, and I guess he was up late one night, and the coffee maker broke. He had no coffee, and he was getting sick of Odwalla, and so he decided, well, hell, I'll take apart the coffee maker and try to fix it myself.
This was where he first started thinking about the things leading up to the FTL drive, and this was a key location in his life.
Well, when I first met him, he was reading Skeptic magazine a lot in the Skeptical Inquirer, and he seemed very taken by the idea that if it couldn't be explained with physics or logic, then it was probably just complete bullshit and not likely to exist. At the same time, he was this very emotional, caring kind of bundle of nervous energy, and I remember when he was on the phones in tech support, he would spend far too much time speaking with these people because he just cared too much. Well, I think such different energies in him actually created a sort of synergy that allowed him to create faster than light machine.
So the coffee maker actually wasn't a working prototype, but it showed him that it could work.
This is something that we're going to see more and more of in the coming years. A kind of synergy between the far forward technologies of all types, and so something that WebTV was involved in might have put the idea in Bryan's mind for the FTL engine, even though it might not have been even vaguely related to it.
The real fallout was the product name. Microsoft stock market. The product name was going to be Synergy. He was furious. And imagine, Synergy, it's a great name. People working together. It's the whole world, money coming together. And he's like, Synergy, what are you talking about? And he snapped. He took his ideas and walked.
I'd heard about his idea, and through various contacts had heard that he needed funding for his initial project, the zombie project.
Most people didn't want to invest in this kind of thing because it certainly sounded crazy. You know, inventing faster than light travel, yeah, sure. Who's going to do that? I'm not going to sink my money there. But then he got backing by Steve Ballmer, who of course at the time was the president of Microsoft. He was able to get his help through someone at WebTV, which was owned by Microsoft. And someone knew someone who knew someone that got him in touch with Steve Ballmer, and Steve Ballmer liked the ideas, he loved it, he wanted to go with it.
We were out and Bryan was talking about how he needed some way to prove that the Notorious FTL worked. And Kendra?
I announced that my boyfriend was part of the NASA, he was internship for the NASA. And I had made a joke about how he was talking about this Mars observer that was gone, that was missing in space or something. And I made a joke about how I guess the NASA would go out and help him find it. But I guess he took it the wrong way, and he took it like really seriously and got all excited about it. Started scribbling on this napkin. Can't even read it.
Yeah, you can't really read it. The thing that's really funny about the whole napkin story here is that Bryan is a really clean guy, okay? And this napkin was dirty. It was on the floor. He doesn't do with stuff that's filthy like that, but he couldn't find anything.
He just grabbed the first thing he saw.
Yeah, he did. And a pen. I guess he didn't have his pilot then, but he started storyboarding it out here on this napkin. And so we have our little pictures here. We have the Earth and Mars, and then we have another little picture here where he launches Zombie toward Mars, and then we have Zombie is finding the Mars observer, and then, what is this, grabbing it with the robot hand, yeah, and then coming back. And that was the genesis of Zombie as a mission.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing somewhere.
Oh, I was there. I actually wanted to go on it, but he was like, you know, if you blow up, that would kind of suck. So we put a gerbil on instead. I was jealous of that gerbil, though.
The Notorious Corporation invited those financial backers that had contributed significant sums to come and actually watch the launch itself from the pad.
They had to delay the test by 3 weeks from the original planned date. I don't recall what the things were, but there were a few problems leading up to it.
I've never seen a launch before, so I don't have a point of comparison to other launches. But just kind of feeling the roar of the engines and seeing that lift off, it was great.
The zombie test. Well, you know, that's sort of a sad state in Notorious's you know, history. It's, you know, like I said, you know, progress comes at some cost, and you know, it's just, it was a very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate thing. I was proud to say, though, that the quantum research part of it, the quantum computers performed correctly all through the test. But yeah, it was it all made us pause for a second. But then we went back to work.
No one had ever expected where it was. That was the really fun part. That's actually why it took so long. It should have been back in about 13 seconds at most, but it wasn't around Mars. It was actually floating near Jupiter. They screwed the coordinates up.
Return within the hour. It was amazing. I mean, I had known that would be the case. Bryan had briefed us on that. Notorious Corporation actually had briefed us on that. But it's a different thing to see it launch and wait a mere 40-45 minutes and have it come back. So it was amazing to see it come back. After it come back, it was a great media gala, so there were huge media screens, and we got to see the footage of the actual retrieval after the actual spacecraft had come back. So that was startling.
I was actually giving birth at the time, and we were in the birthing room, And they actually turned on the TV for us so we could watch it while I was giving birth. It was really nice. It's kind of like,
I wasn't sure what to watch.
Well,
her giving birth or the test, I mean.
Sometimes in the early days of these experiments, people do sort of funny political propaganda things to give their ideas credibility. I mean, I don't know if I buy it, honestly.
It was stunning. We'd expected it, but it was stunning nonetheless. It was something that we said, wow, they actually pulled it off.
My friend Monica walks in, hands me this newspaper and says, "Isn't this one of the geeks you worked with at WebTV?" So there he is, Notorious BHB, on the cover of the front page of the Chronicle, all about the whole zombie Voyager Mars picture thing. Sorry, I never really kept track back then. And, well, I couldn't believe it. It was Brian Bell, so I tracked him down the next couple weeks. The next thing I know, he hired me.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we all remember it. It was quite an event, I think, in all of our lives. It was really, I think, the dawn of a new age of corporation-driven science that, the government-funded science has really kind of had its day.
He brought a startup into space.
Well, knowing Brian, I think partly it was kind of a flamboyance thing. I mean, there's something about having a corporation with an island all to yourself, but it's really got some practical benefits too. The security issue, especially physical security, is a lot easier on an island. You can monitor the approaches. It's kind of like a castle. It's very secluded.
There's also the issue of that NASA is threatening to sue us, and just getting away from the legalistic nonsense of the United States government helps us a lot since we own the island ourselves. We can pretty much do whatever we want. Really what my job is to do is to keep people from stealing the secrets of FTL, because right now it's really new and we don't have all the details worked out.
However, we examine projects based on how successful they will be. I started my company on a basis of an idea that I thought would be successful. A new act had come out, a new opportunity had arisen. I saw similar things in Brian's project. Brian was the type of person that had invented something extraordinary and had the passion to make it come true in the industry, regardless of, in some cases, regulations or how daunting the project might seem to be. And I admired his courage and his passion. I helped him with the finances and enabled him to realize his dream of Notorious Island.
I think Notorious has shown us that there is a better way to do this. That is not necessarily throwing huge amounts of money into a problem to solve it, so much as just a little bit of ingenuity and thinking differently.
We're working on maintaining the integrity of private versus public space, and yet integrating the entire island as kind of a one community. And of course, the pets and everything are going to be allowed free reign of the island, and through the corporate headquarters. We feel that it gives it kind of a homier feel, to have you. So you're sitting at your computer, you're working. It's kind of a stressful job, but your cat can just wander in and jump up on your desk, and that's kind of gives it a nice feeling that you're not really too far from home, even in the middle of work.
He still is, a total workaholic. He goes in on the weekends. He works from home. He's got like 4 different phone lines in his house, so he can have all his computers and all his other devices hooked up at the same time.
It almost seems as if he's the type of person that wants to do it himself, that he doesn't necessarily trust delegating it off to someone. It probably consumes a lot more of his work hours than we'd like it to be as his financiers. We'd like him to maybe step back and oversee a little more future direction rather than be involved in the details. But he's never been able to get away from it.
Although I see him on a regular basis, it's all purely business. It's really hard to get an idea of what he's really like, but he's obviously very bright, and he's a really interesting guy to hang around.
Brian's the greatest. I mean, the guy's just a friggin' genius, first of all. Let me tell you. He's just clever as all get out, I have to say. And very sincere, very clever, very friendly guy, very outgoing, just keen, sharp as a nail, People really have to realize the genius and wonder that is Brian. And, I mean, the FTL, who would have thought out of a coffee maker, you could coffee maker and a few other supplies. You can make a FTL drive. I mean, we spent maybe what, $82 on the first prototype, and he's just amazing.
Well, I mean, you know, he's an evil, maniacal dictator, like everyone says. I mean, he really is out to rule the world. But, you know, it's in a good way. It's because he really wants the world to all achieve these great things that he's trying to achieve. I mean, after all, you know, he's achieved faster than light travel. I mean, imagine what everyone else could do if they really put their mind to it.
Brian Bell is one of the prime examples of what we call a motivator in humanity. Those people who take humanity to a next level, if you will.
Brian's always struck me as the type of person that knows what he wants and knows how to go about getting it, regardless of what presently stands in his way. And it's not a negative thing. It's more a positive thing, that the passion really drives him.
Brian's one of those guys you can really trust. He's you just can look him in the eye. Brian's a good all-around kind of guy.
I know Brian, and, you know, I'd call him my friend, but, you know, Brian, he's almost like a god, and it's hard to say that, you know, anyone can really be close to Brian, but he's a great guy. Just don't get on his bad side, but otherwise he's a great guy.
In some cases, I really do think that Brian had a lot to do with my lack of success, you know, because although Brian's very giving, he doesn't forgive in some cases, and I think he's always held it against me, you know. I think he's always held it against me that I was, you know, that I was funnier than he was in the office, and that, you know, that I would always drop his chair in the class. I mean, and, you know, when he's sitting in the chair, I'd hit it and he'd fall, and I think he still holds that against me.
Brian's always been a bit of a whiner. Nice guy, but a whiner.
Brian's just not funny. He's just not funny. He does things for fun, but he's not funny. He's boring, really. But he looks debonair and dynamic because he wears those leather suits, and he has the green hair, and that has that eclectic edge to it. But he's not funny. Not really.
I don't know if there's any funny stories about Brian. He's a very serious man, full of ennui.
He's always changed. He reinvents himself every 2 years.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m.
You know, this first mission is to go out beyond the reaches of the solar system and retrieve the Voyager and bring it back. And there's some brouhaha about NASA or some other bullshit. I don't really know what's going on there, but I'm sure Brian will take care of all that. He's a clever guy.
Picking up the Voyager is another, I think, clever piece of PR. I think it was very cleverly calculated to stir hearts in the public, and I think the small amount of contention with NASA over it has certainly not hurt.
Mostly what the lay people are going to see is a big boom and a lot of light, and then, you know, boom, it'll be over with, because, you know, on the scale of faster than light travel, things just come and go, and the time gets all muddled up into it. But here in the control center, where we're uploading the information, we've actually been working for hours already at stabilizing things and sending the information out. So there's actually this information sea for it to surf into. So we've actually been working on it for a while, and all the behind the scenes stuff that it takes to have that quantum program that it skids across out there, that's the real hard work, and that's actually been going on for some time. Programmers have complained for centuries about, well, okay, hundreds of years, about bit rot. You know how you leave a program overnight and it's broken in the morning. Well, it's really true with a quantum computer, which makes us feel a lot better, but it's still really hard to handle. So we've modified this dish that we purchased from Stanford University to modulate the subspace frequencies with tachyon waves, so that we can actually send out new information to the craft faster than the speed of light. So actually the craft is hurtling through space out towards Voyager, and then the information is there, and it falls into the information as it goes forward. In fact, you can see, you know, they're actually actively working there, and there's people coming and going and checking on the last bits and pieces. So everything's in place, and really what's going to happen tomorrow is the actual consummation of the flight.
I think Brian, like I said, has always dreamed of bigger and better things, faster things even. And so Must Go Faster will probably be followed on by another project that goes even faster.
By going out and doing what seemed that we couldn't do, and something that everybody knew out there that was something that was very difficult to do or next to impossible to do, was something that was very carefully calculated to make people think about it and say, well, if this was thought to be impossible and we did it, then what can we do? What else can we do?
One of the future missions is to make a trip to the Alpha Centauri star system, and apparently they think maybe there's some planets there or something, and well, I'm planning on going on that trip, most definitely, and that's probably just a few months away, but it's a very exciting trip. I mean, they're going to try to utilize some synergies that they have between the physics research that's been going on lately and some theoretical research into extraterrestrial life. There's a lot of opportunity there to combine those domains, and I'd like to be there right in the middle of it.
Can you imagine your grandmother moving faster than light? I mean, her head's just going to whip off. I mean, it'll be bad. I just can't imagine my grandmother doing that. And you know, the world's getting older. I mean, all the people in the world are older now and moving faster than light. Their minds will explode, and mania. It's going to be mania.
I can't even describe what's possibly going to happen, but I think it's definitely going to change the way we think and the way we live in this world. And I'm excited about it. I don't want to hold back. I think we should move forward with it. Of course, he is my husband.
Of course, there are the applications like, you know, interstellar travel, and that's going to be really important. I think we're finally going to be able to answer those questions about extraterrestrial life and maybe get a little bit closer to the meaning of the universe, life, and all that crap. Yep, it's going to be good stuff. We're gonna learn a lot in the next few years. It's really going to revolutionize. I don't even think that we can begin to imagine what sort of changes it's going to bring about in our world. I mean, faster than light travel. I mean, we can go just about anywhere, anytime, at any rate we want to go. And, well, hell, I mean, that just means the whole universe is just open up to us. Who the hell knows how it's going to change?
I mean, once you go faster than light, I mean, you're faster than fucking anything, you know? It's like here's light, and there's you know, on the next block.
This is something that lets us do what we could never do before, what we could never imagine doing before. It would never be conceivable for you and I to go and visit a completely different star system. This is something that's been made possible by Bryan's invention.
His passion for FTL and for furthering his work and for financial gain will help others in a large scale.
I guess, you know, the Earth's pretty small compared to space, so it's pretty obvious, I guess, you'd have to go for space if you were going to do something as big as what he was looking to do.
I think part of the interesting nature of this work is that it's really kind of a mystery what the future holds for us. I think we're really kind of trembling on the brink, as it were, of really exciting new discoveries. The ability to go, you know, so quickly anywhere in the universe and be able to explore things, I think is really exciting. And you know,
I've always thought that Bryan believed in his idea, in faster than light travel, and that's what ultimately makes him happy. I tend to see also that it might have something to do with making a large impact on the world. I think that might be important to him. And so I think that aspect of it makes him happier, perhaps even more than the intricacies and the fascination of faster than light travel.
Well, people say he's sort of lost in space, so in some ways taking that to heart. And that's what he's been doing, you know, taking various probes back out of space. So, I mean, you could say that he's just trying to get himself back.
I don't think he'll ever be completely satisfied. He'll always want to do something more, even though he thinks he'll be satisfied every time. But he is having fun doing it.